What or who is God? Let's have a think. What do you think God is? What do you think God looks like? That's the big question. As a culture, we are surrounded by images of fashion, interior trends, colours and pattern. We like to know what things look like. We can't relate to things unless we can see them. God is not exempt from this. For centuries, we've needed to have an image of God. The traditional images we remember from Sunday school, images that can be found all over the Christian world, in churches, art galleries, and on books, and printed on our minds. Traditionally, God was seen as an old man with a long white beard, wearing smock-like clothes, almost like a Roman or a Greek in Greek mythology. I suppose in the days when Christians started to think, what would God look like? That was the image that had been used for people in power, people of strength. Sometimes God is wearing a crown, like a king or an emperor, a supreme leader. A few years ago, I went to Rome on holiday and remember walking through the Vatican towards the Sistine Chapel. I couldn't wait to see the famous frescoes by Michelangelo on the ceiling that he painted. It took a lot of effort and time for him to complete these famous images that we all know. Let's have a look at some traditional images of God, starting with the Sistine Chapel, the creation of Adam. Those images were what we expect to see, images we find easy to relate to of God. Now let's think of modern images of God. As a culture, we've developed so much over the past 1,000, 2,000 years, especially over the last 100 years. We know so much now. We have TV, the internet. We are bombarded with knowledge and information all the time. As a race, our language and intellect is so much greater than before. The more we know and learn, the more we can see of God. God becomes wider. God becomes bigger. We can see more sides to God. A bigger God has more diverse imagery. God's image has become a gypsy, travelling between cultures, styles, and people's individuality. God reflects people's individual needs and outlooks. Here are a few examples of contemporary images of God to ponder. There were some interesting images there from a contemporary viewpoint of God, even images of God without a face. Modern art, as a platform, is so descriptive and challenges our thoughts and emotions, and I hope that's what those images have done for you as you glanced over them. Anyway, what about Mother God? Is God a man after all? A woman gives birth to life. God created the world and the universe. So as I see it, God gave birth to life. So is God female? In the early Bible and early civilizations of the world, men were always in control and held power, apart from a few exceptions. Cleopatra comes to mind. Anyway, because of these male cultural systems, God at the time was obviously a man, and we've inherited that. So God became a he, and everything that happened in God's world became his story, history. Should it not be her story, history? Mother God is an interesting concept. After all, we say Mother Nature. So do we see nature as feminine? If so, why is God not feminine? Have a look at this collection of Mother God images. There you go, images of Mother God. Interesting, eh? But as a culture, we still see God mainly as a man, and those images to me seem to be so removed from what I think God is. But is that because I'm male? If I was female, maybe I would relate to them more. Would a child relate to images of God as a child better than an adult? Anyway, that's to ponder. What about God the Creator? Let's say God isn't male or female. Let's take gender out of the equation altogether. God created the world and the universe, the great seas, the oceans, deserts and forests. Other ways we see God is as a strong rock, there for eternity, as fire, burning with love for us all, or as light, showing us the way and giving us guidance, great elements of creation. If God is a rock, what type of rock would God be? Would God be a cliff face, like the white cliffs of Dover, tall for might, white for purity, and a symbol of strength, keeping you safe from evil, as the cliffs of Dover were during the Second World War? They were a barrier, keeping away destruction and holding on to peace, a great symbol at the time. Or would God be a smooth round rock, carved over thousands of years by the wind and rain, a round smooth rock reflecting God's kindness and forgiveness? Or would God be a pointy, jagged rock, a rock created by a volcano, a rock left over after a mighty eruption, a pointy, jagged rock telling you when you've done something wrong, pointing at you, telling you to amend your ways? Here we go. Could God be some of these rocks? God is the rock in our lives, never moving, constant, there for eternity, keeping us safe. What about fire as a symbol or image of God? God's love is burning for us with reds, oranges and yellows, bright colours burning like a fire keeping us warm. Without fire, we would not be able to cook. We would not be able to eat nice home-cooked food. Mind you, God is the provider. Without fire, we would be cold. Fire keeps us warm, like the arms of God hugging us, the whole human race. Our hearts burn with love for our family and friends. God's heart burns with love, a fire for all mankind and all creation. God is like a beacon, a source, a direction, a bright burning monument for all the earth. Now, let's look at these images. Would one of these images of fire represent God for you? Fire is a very powerful element, a source of life, but it can also be destructive. We've all heard about the fire of London and great forest fires that happen all over the world, destroying everything in their path so new life can grow. Is that God's way? No. Our God is a forgiving God. Another great symbol of God is light. God is the light in the darkness. God is the light in our lives. God's light is like a torch showing us the way when we have lost and need direction. Through prayer, God lights up our lives and our thoughts. Without the light of God, we would be forever in darkness and unable to see clearly our path through our life. The sun burns bright in the sky, showing that God is watching over us. God is not like an electric light that you can switch on and off when it's convenient for you. God's light is always bright. God's light is there even when you can't see it. God's light is even brighter than the sun. Here we go again. Here's some images of light. Are they good symbols and images to represent the light of God? I find light a very positive image or symbol of God. To me, because light is so bright and visible, it takes away the need for a physical image of God. Light is the most powerful energy in the universe. Light travels faster than anything we know. But God is more powerful than everything we know and understand. Changing the subject, we aren't the only species on the planet. There are also wildlife and plant life. We were created in the image of God. If we were, what about the plants and animals? They're God's creation too. Could God be king of the jungle, like a strong, bold lion with a long flowing mane? Or an eagle, soaring high in the sky, swooping and diving between trees and mountains? Maybe God is a fish, swimming at the bottom of the deep oceans, a fish surrounded by bright corals and great shoals of colourful fish, swimming and looking after the deep, protecting life that we still have not discovered. What about an elephant? A great, tall, mighty animal, strong, but also sensitive to its fellow pride members. Could God be seen as an elephant? If God is part of all of us, surely God is also part of all of them. That was just a bit of fun, but maybe an animal could represent God better than an image of a human. At least animals don't create disharmony in the world like we do. They live with the planet, coexist with nature. To me, animals deserve to represent God more than we do. Finally, let's think of the weather and the elements. Could they be images and symbols of God? The wind and great thunderstorms, the power of electricity in the air, the force of the thunderbolt crashing to the ground, the rain lashing down from heaven, the rain watering our world so we can drink and live. Could that be the image of God? A God of might, a God all-powerful. What about the sea, the waves and the oceans? Could that be an image of God? The power of the sea, the crashing of the waves. The sea gives us life, it feeds us. Without the sea, without water, we would die. Again, it's God most powerful. It is a mighty God that we see here. Do you see God in these images? I hope you've enjoyed looking through these images. What do you think? What would be an image or symbol of God that would work for you? How do you see God? You know, at the end of the day, all these images and symbols of God are insignificant. God is so big and has so many different sides to his being. Love, creation, forgiveness, greatness, mightiness, compassion, the Holy Spirit. God is our Father and Mother. God is the depths of the oceans, the sky and the clouds. God is the cosmos and the universe. The thing is, we can't take one part of God and use that to describe God as a whole being. But that's what we've been looking at today. God is too big to have one image or symbol. Maybe we'll never know the true image of God, but does it really matter? As long as we can feel God in our hearts and working in the world around us, God is there, doing mission, feeding us with love and leading us to righteousness. To me, that is the most important thing.